I want to make Shu Di Huang from Shu Di Huang. Okay, so sorry, I taught a couple classes and I'm really tired now, but this is what we're going to do. I have bought from Monterey Park, from the herb stores in Monterey Park. This is a whole rehmannia root. This is a piece of, they called it shēng di. It's a little dark, but it's mostly unprocessed piece of root. That's what it looks like when it's not sliced, when it's not processed. So I'm going to put that in here. I've weighed that and it weighs, let's see, 64 grams. So the books tell us that for every 10 grams of herb, we need 3 grams. For every 10 grams, we need 3 grams of huáng, which is yellow liquor. So I want to soak them overnight, and in the morning I'll start cooking them. So when I did the math, since that piece was 64 grams, then I need 19.2 milliliters of huáng, which is yellow liquor. This is the yellow liquor. So I'm going to shake it up. It hasn't been used in a while, just in case. I'm taking off the lid, and so that's almost 20 milliliters. So let me see if I can pour this. Oops, a little bit too much. I'm being really clumsy. I'm tired. It's late. Okay, that's about 20. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just pour this in and let it soak overnight. Hopefully it'll absorb it all and get nice and soft overnight. So there, we have that one. And then Spring Wind has this really interesting, let's see, I need to get it farther back. Okay. This is Shēng Di Huang that has been processed in a very special way. If it's dried with heat and in the sun, it turns black like you saw the other one, but this is fairly pale because it was dried at a very low temperature. So I'm going to make 2 types of Shu Di Huang, and so this is totally unprocessed besides drying it at a very low temperature. That one, I have 30 grams in there, and so if I want 3 grams for every 10 grams, then I need 9, or let's round it off to about 10 milliliters. There, let's see if I can do better this time. That's about 10. Okay. And so putting the lid back on. Okay. And I'm just going to pour this, sprinkle it over. Okay. I want to make sure it all gets a little bit moist. And spread it out. And there's still a little bit in the bottom. We're going to let that also absorb overnight. So we'll check it out and see how it looks in the morning. Okay, the rehmannia, the shēng di, has soaked overnight with the huáng, the yellow liquor. In figuring out how I'm going to steam it, I realized I wanted to keep the 2 separate, but I needed to fit them in one steamer. So this dish is going to work, I think, since it's not a large amount. These feel moist, and I definitely smell the alcohol. So we'll put them in one compartment. The big chunk of Shangdi didn't absorb all of, let's see, didn't absorb all of the, excuse me, huangjiu. So I'm going to put that in the other container with its liquid. And I know from having done this before that it will continue to absorb it as it's there. I'm going to try and get it to touch. Okay, so I'm going to put that in my steamer. I have a steamer, and I'm going to take this over to the stove, and I'll show you the steaming in a little while. It's been steaming about an hour now, so let's take a peek. Also, I want to turn the big lump of shangdi over so that it can absorb more evenly on the other side. So let's see what's up with this. Okay, I know you can't see it all really well, but let's pull out, it's getting much darker, you know, the slices. So I'm going to stir them up a little bit. And then here's the big lump. Wow, it's still very hard, and it's hard to pick up there. Got it. Here's the big lump. It is absorbing more, but still needs work. And we can definitely see things are getting darker. Okay. So it needs to steam for like 6 hours, and that means 5 more hours to go. So we'll check in on it later. The Di Huang has been steaming for 6 hours now. I've peeked at it. I've also refilled the water underneath a couple of times because it does tend to boil down. You don't want it to boil dry, of course. I've peeked at it, and the slices look pretty much done, but I'm not confident that the big chunk of root is done because it still feels a little hard when I touch it with the chopsticks. So I'm gonna take the slices out. Do you hear it steaming? See a little steam coming out. So I'm gonna take out the slices, and I'm gonna put back the big root for some more time. So that's what I'm gonna do. Let's see if I can do this without burning myself. Okay. I'm going to take this big piece of root and put it in another little bowl and put it back in. Okay, and we'll let that continue for a while longer. And then these pieces that were pre-sliced, the ones that came from Spring Wind, they're, let's see, I don't know if you can see, but they've turned very black. So I'm gonna put them out on a rack to cool and to dry. That's the next step. So I have over here, I have a metal tray underneath. Just in case anything drips. I've got a kind of cookie rack for letting cookies cool or something like that. Rehmannia is not supposed to touch iron. And while this isn't iron, it's stainless steel, but I'm just trying to not have it touch metal. So I have a little plastic sheet with holes on top. My cat is talking to us. I don't know if that's necessary, but that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to lay out the slices so they can start to cool and to dry. While I'm doing this, I want to tell you a few things. I'm following the directions here of a Ming dynasty doctor named Xuē Jǐ, and I've translated a couple of his books, and every time he talks about a rehmannia formula, like Di Huang or Wei Wan or whatever, he always says for the Shu Di, he says, make it yourself. He's telling you not to buy it from the pharmacy. He's telling you to make it yourself. And so since I was translating his stuff, I decided I should follow his instructions. He gives instructions on how to do it, but they're not totally thorough. He expects that you know things. The deal is, probably you've heard that Shu Di Huang should be steamed and sun-dried 9 times. But he just tells you to steam it for half a day. He does not tell you to do it for 9 times. I mean, that would take, a couple of weeks, because, you steam it one day and then you dry it the next maybe 2 days and then you steam it again. So if each of those takes 3 days, that's 27 days to make it, which, of course, in a perfect world, we wouldn't be lazy and would do that. But even in the Ming dynasty, it seemed like that was too much for Xuē Jǐ. So all he says is to add some huáng, some yellow liquor. He doesn't tell you how much, the proportions. I got that from a modern book. I told you, 10 parts of the herb to 3 parts of the huáng. And, so he says to add the huáng and to steam it for half a day. I assume by half a day he means approximately 6 hours and not like half of a 24-hour day, but I could be wrong. In any case, these pieces, are really nice and black. They look, perfect, although they're smaller than we're used to seeing what comes from the store most of the time, but that's because they were already pre-sliced. When the big chunk comes out, I'll have to slice it myself. So that's basically, what we're doing. I am going to take this and put it out in the sun. It's a nice, hot, sunny day. That's all of it. Okay. It's a nice, hot, sunny day, and I will start sun-drying this. I'll probably need to do it for a couple of days tomorrow and so forth. And then I'll show you the slicing and the drying of the big lump of it. Okay? Okay. Okay, the big root has had another hour of steaming. I'm going to take it out and see if I think it's ready. Let's see. I know you can't see for the moment. I'll get it in view in just a sec. I'm leaving the stove on in case I need to put it back in. Okay, so here we have our little black lump of root. You can see. Okay. So we're trying to avoid it touching metal because it's not supposed to be in contact with iron. So I have a ceramic knife. These are actually surprisingly sharp. And I'm going to slice it to see if it's soft in the middle. If it is, it's done. But if it still feels a little hard, then I'm going to put it back in for more time. So let me just... It's still kind of hard. Let's see what it looks like though. It's black all the way through. You see, I know you may not be able to see too much detail because black just looks like black, but yeah, I think it's done. So I'm gonna take it over and slice it and move on to the next step. I'm going to try and slice it. This really isn't the best knife. It's a little small, and a serrated knife would work better, but it's the knife I have, so I'm going to try and slice it relatively thin, and I guess it'll work. is very black and shiny and thick. Okay, so you don't need to watch me slice the whole thing. I'll turn this back on in a minute. So I do want to compare. This was the Shēng Di that was dried at a very low temperature, and here's after the same thing has been processed to Shu Di. You can see quite a difference between the two. Okay. So now I'm going to lay out these slices that I just made. They're much thicker than the slices from Spring Wind because I'm sure Spring Wind has machinery that can slice them beautifully. But we're going to lay these out and they're going to dry for the rest of today, and tomorrow's going to be another hot day, so I'll put them out again tomorrow, and then I'll see. It's hard to tell when they're 100% dry because they're really kind of sticky even when they're dry, but that's basically the process. All that's left now is to dry. Here they are out on my balcony, sun drying, my little table. So that's what it looks like. Well, that's it. I've let it dry. I put it in a jar. It stores for a long time. The last time I made it, I made more than this time, and it lasted more than a year without going bad. So, it seems well preserved, and so it's just bottled up and kept away from light, of course. And, that's the story. I've got it when I need it. Okay? It's really not that hard. It is time consuming because you have to steam it for so many hours and dry it, for a while, but you don't have to pay a lot of attention to it. So I think it's worth doing. And even though this is like a simplified method and not doing it 9 times, you could do it 9 times, but it's really worked well when I've made, especially like, pills from it. And so I'm happy with it. Thank you, Xuē Jǐ, Ming Dynasty doctor, for writing about it. And that's my experiment. Okay, bye.